It's no secret that competitive is in a terrible state right now amongst Destiny 2 players. And if you look at the vocal portion of the community, most of them do not like PvP right now. And, some people will make the argument, well, Destiny is about having fun. It's not about skill. But when you're going to label something competitive, it has to be based on skill, period. And today, I'm gonna talk about why skill-based matchmaking is mandatory for this mode. Like, I believe personally, quick play should have skill-based matchmaking, but I'm gonna focus on competitive because that's where I feel like it's mandatory. Now, the only reason you hear complaints about the matchmaking, I don't want to say the only reason, but most of the reason you hear complaints about the matchmaking in competitive is because players can't achieve their goals based on skill. With skill-based matchmaking, if you're good enough to reach your goal, let's say you want to get the Fable to get Lunas, you would be able to get there as a solo player because you're being matched in games where players are in there because of how good they are or how good they aren't, depending on how low you are. Now, the way it currently works will put you up against players that are clearly better or worse than you because it matches based on rank, and rank is not an indication of skill, period. I know it's going to offend some people, but it is what it is. I mean, if you take a 4-stack that was good enough to reach Legend, they wouldn't be able to do it solo. None of them would be able to do it solo because it's impossible. Most of them probably couldn't reach Mythic solo. The only way they'd be able to do it is in an environment where they're being matched up against players based on skill, and if they're good enough, they move up in rank. Skill-based matchmaking is the only way rank would indicate how good you are. Because with the current system, okay, if you take this footage that I'm using in the background of this video, I don't really play competitive. Not this season. Last season, I soloed my way to Lunas. But this season, I was like, there's really no reason for me to play competitive. The only reason I did was, one, I needed footage for this video. And two, I had a couple bounties from Hawthorne that I needed to complete, which required me to play competitive. So, in this footage, you can clearly see this team that I'm playing against is not good enough to win this game. There was no way in hell they were going to win this game. Because I'm just dominating them and I'm not even trying. You see me using a retold tail for most of this game and I'm just running up to them, shotgunning them. I'm not maneuvering, I'm not using cover. I'm just running up to them, shotgunning them, and a lot of the time they have no idea that I'm even there. They're not even using their radars. They're not in cover. They're not moving together. They're just doing their own thing and getting shotgunned. This is why rank does not indicate skill, because I'm a lower rank, like I just said. I don't play competitive this season. And it's just not a fair game. They had no chance of winning this. And I'm not saying I'm the only reason. My teammates were bad either. But I'm just completely dominating them, and it's not even close. Like I said, they had no chance of winning. You even see I don't use my super the entire match because I was not trying. I was not even trying to win. I only wanted to win 2 rounds so I could get the hell up out of here. I didn't want to play competitive in the first place. Now, back to the point. Skill-based matchmaking is mandatory because there's no other way to determine skill in Destiny. With it being a loot-based game, you're inherently going to have people with better gear than other people, and they're going to win because of that. The meta itself is already too dominant, and when you throw the meta on top of god-rolled meta weapons, it's the other team just has no chance unless they have gear that is equal to that, on top of having players that are already good enough to be matched with you in the first place. So, matchmaking, like I said, matchmaking only gets complained about because it's not skill-based. Rank does not determine skill, and people need to understand this. The current matchmaking system is an objectively wrong system for a competitive environment. And skill-based matchmaking wouldn't automatically fix all the other issues with PvP, the lack of balance between subclasses and weapons, heavy ammo spawning, or heavy ammo just being in competitive in general. Skill-based matchmaking wouldn't fix that, but it would cushion the problem by putting players on an even playing ground and allowing them to play the game based on who played the game better, not playing the game based on, oh, we're clearly better, so we're going to win by default. We won the game before it even started. And, I think Destiny 2 needs a whole lot of balancing, but the community is so against nerfs in general. Anytime people mention nerfs, it's a problem. But if you're not gonna nerf weapons to make things fair, if you're not gonna nerf subclasses or buff subclasses, I actually believe subclasses need to be buffed instead of nerfed. But if you're not gonna balance subclasses and balance weapons, the only other option is skill-based matchmaking. That's it. There is no other option. And I know higher tier players don't like skill-based matchmaking because apparently they'll have to play against players with their skill. But why is that an issue? Why should lower skill players have to get stomped, 8 games out of 10, but you get to win purely off the fact that you're playing people who are nowhere near as good as you? The entitled title, the entitled label gets thrown around a lot to people who complain about Destiny 2 and feel like, oh, they should have more fair games, they should be able to actually win based on skill. But you have to be an entitled person to feel like, well, I deserve to have easy matches because I'm a higher skilled player. That makes no sense at all whatsoever, and you're a hypocrite and you're contradicting yourself. Now, I don't want to harp on higher tier players too much, but that's the real reason that we don't have skill-based matchmaking. The higher tier players don't want it because then they'd have to actually play people of their skill level, period. There's a post on the Bungie forums. You'd probably still be able to find it. I just saw it yesterday, where a guy looked at his games, and I think it was like 70 games or so. He played, out of those 70 games, 40% of the time he played against players that were way higher skilled than him. And then he looked at a higher skilled player, and it was only 10% of the games he played against someone of his skill level. That is such bullshit. Like, there's no other way to put it. That's just bullshit for lower skilled players because, as I stated earlier, they're not able to achieve their goals purely based on the matchmaking. It's not even because they're not good enough to hit Fabled. They're not good enough to hit Fabled when they're playing players who could hop in a 4-stack and hit Legend within a week. And then you have solos matching against stacks, and this is a very controversial topic amongst the PvP topics right now. You shouldn't be matched against stacks, period. Like a 2-stack, I think is fine. A 2-stack will have to really play well in order to carry a team. But playing in a 4-stack, you have such an advantage over solo players that you basically won the game before it even started. And that's not good. That's not competitive. That's not any sort of skill that you have. Because, as I said earlier, rank does not indicate skill. You playing in a 4-stack and being able to hit Mythic does not mean you are individually good enough to hit Mythic. So, I personally think competitive should be solo queue only. I don't think there should be options for stacks in competitive. Because you're supposed to be weighed based on your individual skill, not how good you can get by having a significant advantage over half of the player base. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about skill-based matchmaking. As far as competitive goes, I think it's mandatory. It's the only way to fix the mode without Bungie having to change basically everything else about the game. They would have to balance everything, which they're clearly not going to do. They would have to take out heavy ammo. They would have to change spawn points. There's so much they would have to do outside of just implementing a simple skill-based matchmaking system, and it would fix it. For the most part, competitive wouldn't really be a problem anymore. People would be able to achieve goals based on how good they are, and not because matchmaking is fucking them against 4 stacks of players who are clearly better than them. Thanks for watching. If you guys want to share your opinion below or try to convince me that skill-based matchmaking is a bad thing, which hint you're not going to be able to do, but you can try, I guess. Go ahead and leave it in the comments below. I think I'm going to make one more Destiny video on Gambit, and then after that I probably won't do much Destiny anymore because I'm starting to lose interest in the game, honestly. Between PvP being garbage, PvE being the same weekly chores every week, I really don't see myself continuing to play the game much more consistently or just in general. I'm starting to play other games right now, so, you know, Gambit will be my last Destiny video for a while at least. Anyway, thanks for watching.
One enemy left. 30 seconds. Slay your enemy and they stay dead. Enemies down. All lives expended. Total victory. You looked death in his beady eyes and you spat in them. You fiend.